Jake Morrison pulled his horse to a stop at the edge of Cedar Falls. The sun was setting behind the small town, painting the sky orange and red. Dust covered his clothes and his face was tired. He had been riding for 3 weeks with a cattle drive. Now he just wanted a hot meal and a bed for the night. His horse Thunder shook his head and made soft noises. The animal was as tired as Jake was. They had traveled many miles together. Thunder was a good horse, strong and smart. Jake patted his neck gently. "Easy, boy," Jake said in his quiet voice. "We'll get you some water and food soon." Jake was 32 years old. He was tall and strong from years of hard work. His face was brown from the sun. His hands were rough and his clothes were simple. He carried a gun on his belt, but he was not a violent man. He only used it when he had to protect himself or others. The town of Cedar Falls was small. There were maybe 50 houses and a few stores. Most of the buildings were made of wood. Some needed paint. The main street was dirt, and it was dusty, because it had not rained for weeks. Jake rode slowly down the main street. A few people looked at him but did not speak. Strangers were common in this town. Cowboys and travelers came through all the time. Jake did not mind. He liked to be left alone. He saw the general store, a saloon, and a small church. There was also a doctor's office and a place that fixed wagon wheels. At the end of the street, he could see the hotel. That was where he would sleep tonight. But first, he needed to find a place for Thunder. He rode toward the edge of town where he had seen a stable. As he passed the last few houses, something made him stop. A sound came from one of the houses. It was a child crying. But it was not normal crying. This was the sound of pain and fear. Jake knew that sound. He had heard it before long ago when he was young. The house was small and old. The paint was falling off the walls. Some of the windows were broken and covered with wood. The yard was full of weeds and trash. It looked like no one cared about this place. Jake got off his horse and tied Thunder to a fence post. He walked closer to the house. The crying was louder now. Then he heard another sound. It was the sound of someone being hit. "Please stop," a young voice cried. I'm sorry. Jake felt his heart beat faster. His hands made fists. He remembered being young and scared. He remembered hiding in corners while bad things happened. He remembered wishing someone would help him. He walked to the side of the house. There was a window with no glass. Through it, he could see inside. What he saw made him very angry. A woman was standing over a small girl. The woman was big and mean-looking. Her hair was messy and her dress was dirty. In her hand, she held a thick stick. The girl was on the floor, trying to protect herself with her arms. "You worthless little girl," the woman shouted. "You broke my cup." "That was the only good cup I had. I didn't mean to," the girl cried. "It slipped from my hands." The woman raised the stick again. Jake could see that the girl was very thin. Her clothes were old and too big for her. She had marks on her arms that looked like old bruises. This was not the first time this had happened. The woman brought the stick down hard. The girl screamed. Jake had seen enough. He walked around to the front door. It was open a little bit. He pushed it open and stepped inside. The woman heard him and turned around. She still held the stick in her hand. "Who are you?" she asked. "Get out of my house." Jake looked at her with cold eyes. "I heard crying," he said. "I came to see what was wrong." "Nothing is wrong," the woman said. "This is my house and this is my business. Get out." Jake looked at the girl. She was still on the floor. She looked up at him with big, scared eyes. She had brown hair that was dirty and tangled. Her face was thin and pale. She could not be more than 12 years old. "Is this your daughter?" Jake asked. "She's my stepdaughter," the woman said. "Her father was my husband. He died and left me with her. She's nothing but trouble." Jake could smell alcohol on the woman's breath. Empty bottles were on the table. The house was dirty and smelled bad. This was not a place for a child to live. "What did she do?" Jake asked. "She broke my cup," the woman said. The only good thing I had left and she broke it. Jake looked around. He saw pieces of a broken cup on the floor. It was just a simple cup, not worth much money. It was an accident, he said. I don't care, the woman shouted. She needs to learn to be more careful. The woman raised the stick, again. Jake moved fast. He grabbed her wrist and stopped her. Don't, he said in a quiet but dangerous voice. The woman tried to pull away, but Jake was much stronger. Let go of me, she said. Put the stick down, Jake said. The woman looked into his eyes and saw something that scared her. She dropped the stick. It fell to the floor with a loud noise. Jake let go of her wrist. The woman stepped back and rubbed where he had held her. You have no right to come into my house, she said. And you have no right to hurt a child, Jake said back. The girl was still on the floor. She was watching everything but not saying anything. Jake could see that she was very afraid. What's your name? Jake asked the girl. Emily, she said in a small voice. Emily is a pretty name, Jake said. He tried to make his voice gentle. Are you hurt? Emily looked at the woman, then back at Jake. She was afraid to answer. She's fine, the woman said quickly. This is none of your business. But Jake could see that Emily was not fine. She was hurt and scared and probably hungry too. This woman did not take care of her. She only hurt her. Jake felt something growing inside him. It was anger, but also something else. It was the feeling that he had to do something. He could not just walk away and leave this child here. My name is Jake, he told Emily. I'm not going to hurt you. Emily nodded a little bit. For the first time, someone had been kind to her. Jake looked at the woman again. An idea was forming in his mind. It was a crazy idea, but maybe it could work. Maybe he could help this child. The woman was still angry, but she was also scared of Jake. He was big and strong, and she could see that he was not afraid of her. I want to talk to you, Jake said to the woman. Outside. I don't have to talk to you, she said. Yes, you do, Jake said. His voice was quiet, but there was something in it that made the woman know she should listen. They went outside, leaving Emily alone in the house. Jake could hear her crying softly. It made his heart hurt. The woman crossed her arms and glared at him. What do you want? She asked. Jake thought about his sister Sarah. She had died when she was young because no one had helped her. He would not let that happen to Emily. I want to make you an offer, he said. The woman looked at Jake with suspicious eyes. Her name was Martha Crowley, and she was not used to people wanting to talk to her. Most people in town avoided her because she was mean and drank too much. What kind of offer? Martha asked. She wiped her nose with her dirty sleeve. Jake looked back at the house. He could still hear Emily crying inside. The sound made him think of his sister Sarah again. Sarah had cried like that when their father hurt her. Jake had been too young then to help her, but he was not young anymore. The girl, Jake said. You don't want her. That's right, Martha said quickly. She's nothing but trouble. Always breaking things, always eating my food, always making noise. Her father should never have brought her to me. Tell me about her father, Jake said. Martha's face got angry. Tom Hartwell was a fool. He married me 2 years ago and said he would take care of me. Then he went and got himself killed in a mining accident. Left me with nothing but debts and that worthless girl. Jake could see that Martha really did not care about Emily at all. To her, Emily was just a problem that cost money and made her life harder. She eats too much, Martha continued, and she's always getting in my way. I can't afford to feed her. I can barely feed myself. Jake looked at Martha's clothes. They were dirty but not torn. She had shoes on her feet. She did not look like someone who was starving. He could smell the alcohol on her breath. She had money for whiskey but said she could not feed a child. How much does it cost to feed her? Jake asked. Too much, Martha said. And for what? She's just going to grow up to be worthless like her father. Jake felt his anger growing again, but he kept his voice calm. What if you didn't have to worry about her anymore? Martha stopped talking and looked at him carefully. What do you mean? What if someone else took care of her? What if you never had to see her again? Martha's eyes got bright with interest. Are you saying what I think you're saying? Jake nodded. I'm saying I want to take her away from here. Why would you want her? Martha asked. You don't even know her. Jake thought about how to answer. He could not tell Martha about his sister. He could not explain that seeing Emily get hurt made him remember things he wanted to forget. Instead, he said something simple. I need help. On my ranch. She could work for me. This was not really true. Jake had a ranch, but it was small. He could take care of it by himself. But Martha did not need to know that. Work? Martha laughed. She can't do anything right. She breaks everything she touches. I'll teach her, Jake said. Martha was quiet for a moment. She was thinking hard. Jake could see that she was interested, but she was also suspicious. What's in it for me? She asked. Jake had been waiting for this question. Money. Martha's eyes got very bright. How much money? How much do you want? Martha looked around to make sure no one was listening. The street was empty. Most people were inside having dinner. $50, she said quickly. It was a lot of money. Jake made about $30 a month working cattle drives. $50 was almost 2 months' pay. But Jake had been saving his money for years. He had almost $300 hidden in his saddlebags. $50, Jake repeated. That's right, Martha said. $50 and you can take her. I'll even throw in her clothes. Jake felt sick. Martha was talking about Emily like she was a horse or a cow, like she was something to be bought and sold. She's not a thing, Jake said quietly. What? Martha asked. Nothing, Jake said. He could not let Martha know how he really felt. If she knew he cared about Emily, she might. Ask for more money. Do we have a deal? Martha asked. Jake thought about Emily inside the house. She was probably still crying. She was probably wondering what was happening. She was probably scared that the mean woman would come back and hurt her more. I want to see her first, Jake said. See her? Why? If I'm going to pay $50, I want to make sure she's healthy. I want to make sure she can work. Martha nodded. That makes sense. Come on. They went back into the house. Emily was sitting in the corner now. She had stopped crying, but her face was still wet with tears. When she saw Martha come back, she made herself smaller and tried to hide. Stand up, Martha said to Emily. This man wants to look at you. Emily stood up slowly. She kept her head down and did not look at Jake. Look at him, Martha said. Show him you're not completely stupid. Emily raised her head. Her eyes were red from crying. Jake could see a new bruise on her cheek where Martha had hit her. How old are you, Emily? Jake asked gently. 12, Emily said in a voice so quiet he could barely hear her. Are you sick? Jake asked. Emily shook her head. She's healthy, Martha said. Skinny but healthy. She just needs more work to do. That's what's wrong with her. She's lazy. Jake looked at Emily's thin arms and legs. She was not lazy. She was hungry. Martha was not feeding her enough. Can you cook? Jake asked Emily. Emily nodded. Can you clean? Emily nodded again. She can do whatever you tell her to do, Martha said. She's good at following orders. Jake could see that Emily was afraid to speak. She was afraid that if she said the wrong thing, Martha would hurt her later. Emily, Jake said, do you want to come with me? Emily looked confused. Come with you where? To my ranch. To work for me. Emily looked at Martha, then back at Jake. She did not understand what was happening. She doesn't have a choice, Martha said. If you buy her, she goes with you. Buy her? Emily said. Her voice was small and scared. Jake felt terrible. He wanted to help Emily, but he had to do it in a way that Martha would accept. And Martha only understood money. It's okay, Emily, Jake said. I'm not going to hurt you. Emily did not look like she believed him. Why should she? Adults had been hurting her for a long time. Why should this stranger be different? $50, Martha said again. And you can take her tonight. I want it in writing, Jake said. Writing? Martha looked surprised. A paper that says, "You sold her to me, so there won't be any trouble later." Martha thought about this. Fine, but I can't write very well. I'll write it, Jake said. You just have to sign it. Jake took a piece of paper from his pocket. He always carried paper and a pencil for keeping track of cattle. He wrote carefully, I, Martha Crowley, sell Emily Hartwell to Jake Morrison for $50. Emily will work for Jake Morrison and live on his ranch. I give up all rights to Emily. Signed this day in Cedar Falls. He showed the paper to Martha. She could read a little bit, enough to understand what it said. Where's my $50? She asked. Jake reached into his pocket and counted out 50 silver dollars. It was a lot of money. Martha's eyes got very big when she saw it. Sign the paper first, Jake said. Martha took the pencil and wrote her name at the bottom of the paper. Her writing was shaky and hard to read, but it was legal. Jake gave her the money. Martha grabbed it and counted it quickly. She's yours now, Martha said. Take her and go. Jake looked at Emily. She was staring at the money in Martha's hands. She looked confused and scared. Get your things, Emily, Jake said gently. Things? Emily looked around the dirty house. I don't have any things. Clothes, Jake said. Do you have any other clothes? Emily pointed to a corner where there was a small pile of old clothes. They were torn and dirty, but they were all she had. That's it? Jake asked. That's it, Martha said. I told you she was more trouble than she was worth. Emily went to the corner and picked up her clothes. There was also a small cloth doll there. It was old and worn, but Emily held it carefully. You don't need that stupid doll, Martha said. Throw it away. She can keep it, Jake said quickly. Emily looked at him with surprise. Someone was letting her keep her doll. It was the only thing she had that was really hers. Come on, Jake said. Let's go. Emily followed him to the door. She stopped and looked back at the house. It had been a terrible place to live, but it was the only home she had known for 2 years. Don't come back here, Martha said. She's not my problem anymore. Jake put his hand gently on Emily's shoulder. She was so small and thin. He could feel her shaking. It's going to be okay, he told her. Emily did not answer. She did not believe him yet. But for the first time in a long time, someone was being kind to her. Maybe, just maybe, things could get better. Jake walked with Emily toward his horse. She carried her small bundle of clothes in one arm and her doll in the other. Her feet made no sound as she walked. She had learned to be very quiet so she would not make Martha angry. Thunder was still, tied to the fence post. The big horse turned his head when he saw Jake coming. Emily stopped walking when she saw the horse. She had never been close to such a large animal before. This is Thunder, Jake said. He's a good horse. He won't hurt. Emily stayed back. She was afraid of many things now, and a big horse was just one more thing to fear. Jake untied Thunder and led him by the reins. We need to go to town first, he told Emily, to make the papers legal. Emily nodded but did not say anything. She did not understand what legal meant, but she followed Jake because she had no choice. They walked down the dusty street toward the center of town. A few people were outside their houses in the evening air. Some of them looked at Jake and Emily with curious eyes. A cowboy and a thin girl made an unusual pair. The general store was still open. Mr. Henderson, who owned the store, also worked as the town clerk. He wrote down births and deaths and marriages. He could make papers legal. Jake tied Thunder to the post outside the store. Come on, he said to Emily. The store was full of supplies. There were bags of flour and sugar, tools, clothes, and many other things. Emily had never been inside a store before. She looked around with wide eyes. Mr. Henderson was behind the counter. He was an old man with white hair and a kind face. He looked up when Jake and Emily came in. Good evening, Mr. Henderson said. What can I do for you? I need you to look at this paper, Jake said. He took out the paper that Martha had signed. Mr. Henderson put on his glasses and read the paper. His face changed as he read. He looked confused and then worried. "What is this?" he asked. "It's a legal paper," Jake said. "Martha Crowley sold this girl to me." Mr. Henderson looked at Emily, then back at Jake. "You bought a child?" "Yes," Jake said. "But—" Mr. Henderson did not know what to say. "People don't buy children. Children are not things you can buy." "Martha needed money," Jake said, "and the girl needed help." Mr. Henderson read the paper again. "This is very unusual," he said. "I've never seen anything like this." "Is it legal?" Jake asked. Mr. Henderson thought for a long time. In 1885, the law was different than it would be years later. Children did not have many rights. If their parents wanted to give them away or sell them, they could do it. "I suppose it could be legal," Mr. Henderson said slowly, "if both people agreed to it, and if the person selling the child had the right to do it." "Martha was taking care of Emily," Jake said. "Emily's father is dead. Martha had the right." Mr. Henderson looked at Emily again. She was standing very still, holding her, doll tight. She looked scared and thin and tired. "Child," Mr. Henderson said gently, "what is your name?" "Emily," she said in a whisper. "Emily, do you understand what is happening here?" Emily shook her head. She did not understand. All she knew was that the mean woman had taken money from this stranger, and now she was supposed to go with him. "This man says he bought you," Mr. Henderson explained. "That means you belong to him now." Emily's eyes got very big. "Belong to him? Like a slave?" Mr. Henderson asked Jake. His voice was angry now. "No," Jake said quickly. "Not like a slave. She'll work for me, but I'll take care of her. I'll give her food and clothes and a place to sleep." Mr. Henderson did not like this situation, but he could not see anything that was against the law. Martha had signed the paper. She had taken money. Jake had the paper to prove he had bought Emily. "I don't like this," Mr. Henderson said, "but I suppose it's legal." He took out a stamp and pressed it onto the paper. Then he wrote the date and signed his name. "There," he said. "It's official now." Jake took the paper and put it in his pocket. "Thank you." "Take good care of her," Mr. Henderson said. "She's just a child." "I will," Jake promised. They left the store and went back to Thunder. Jake put Emily's bundle of clothes in his saddlebag. Then he looked at Emily. "Can you ride a horse?" he asked. Emily shook her head. She had never been on a horse in her life. "It's okay," Jake said. "You can ride with me." He climbed up onto Thunder's back. Then he reached down to help Emily. She was afraid, but she took his hand. Jake lifted her up and put her on the horse in front of him. Emily had never been so high off the ground. She felt like she might fall. Jake put one arm around her to keep her safe. "Hold on to the saddle horn," he told her. "You won't fall." Thunder started walking. Emily was scared at first, but after a while she began to feel safe. Jake's arm was strong around her. He would not let her fall. They rode out of town as the sun was setting. The sky was getting dark, and stars were starting to appear. Emily had never been outside of town before. Everything looked different out here. "Where are we going?" Emily asked. It was the first time she had asked Jake a question. "To my ranch," Jake said. "It's about an hour from here." "What's a ranch?" "It's a place where I keep cattle and horses. There's a house and a barn and a lot of land." Emily tried to imagine what a ranch would look like. She had only known the dirty little house where Martha lived. "What will I do there?" she asked. Jake thought about his answer. He did not want to scare her more than she already was. "You'll help me take care of the house," he said. "You'll cook and clean, but you'll also have time to rest and play." "Play?" Emily had not played in a very long time. Martha said playing was for lazy children. "Yes, play," Jake said. "Children should have time to play." Emily did not say anything, but Jake could feel her relax a little bit in his arms. They rode through the dark countryside. There were no houses out here, just open land and trees. Emily had never seen so much empty space. It made her feel small but also free. "Are you going to hurt me?" Emily asked suddenly. Jake's heart hurt when he heard this question. This little girl expected to be hurt because that was all she had known. "No," he said firmly. "I will never hurt you. Martha said you bought me. She said I have to do whatever you tell me to do." "Martha said a lot of things," Jake replied. "But I'm not like Martha. I won't hit you or yell at you." Emily was quiet for a while, then she asked, "What if I break something?" "Then we'll clean it up and be more careful next time." "You won't hit me with a stick?" "No. I will never hit you with anything." Emily had trouble believing this. In her experience, adults always hit children when they did something wrong. "What if I spill food?" "Then we'll clean it up." "What if I make noise?" Children are supposed to make noise sometimes. Emily thought about this. Maybe this man really was different from Martha, but she had been hurt so many times that it was hard to trust anyone. The moon came up and made everything silver. Emily had never been out so late before. Martha always made her go to bed when the sun went down. "Are you tired?" Jake asked. "A little," Emily said. "We'll be there soon. Then you can sleep in a real bed." Emily had been sleeping on the floor at Martha's house. She had not slept in a bed for 2 years. After a while, Jake pointed ahead. "There it is," he said. Emily could see lights in the distance. As they got closer, she could see a house. It was bigger than Martha's house, and it looked clean and neat. There was a barn nearby and a fence around a field where horses were sleeping. "This is my ranch," Jake said. "It's big," Emily said. "Not too big, just right for me and Thunder and a few other animals." They rode up to the house. Jake got down from Thunder first, then helped Emily down. Her legs were shaky from riding for so long. "Come on," Jake said. "Let's go inside." The house was warm and clean. There were real windows with glass in them. There was a table and chairs and a fireplace. Emily had never seen such a nice place. "Are you hungry?" Jake asked. Emily nodded. She was always hungry. Martha never gave her enough food. Jake lit a lamp and looked in his cupboards. He found some bread and cheese and milk. He put them on the table. "Sit down," he said. "Eat as much as you want." Emily sat down carefully. She took a small piece of bread and ate it slowly. She was afraid to take too much. "Eat more," Jake said. "There's plenty." Emily took another piece of bread and some cheese. It was the best food she had eaten in a long time. Jake watched her eat. She was so thin and small. She ate like someone who was always afraid the food would be taken away. "Emily," Jake said, "I want you to understand something. This is your home now. You don't have to be afraid here." Emily looked up at him. "Really?" "Really. You're safe here." For the first time since her father died, Emily felt like maybe things could be okay. Maybe this stranger who had bought her from Martha really did want to help her. But it would take time for her to really believe it. She had been hurt too many times to trust easily. Still, for tonight, she was warm and fed and safe. That was more than she had had in a very long time. Emily woke up when the sun came through the window. For a moment, she did not remember where she was. Then she saw the clean walls and the real bed she was sleeping in. She remembered the cowboy named Jake and the long ride to his ranch. She had slept in her clothes because she did not have anything else to wear to bed. The bed was soft and warm. She had forgotten what it felt like to sleep somewhere comfortable. Emily heard sounds from outside her room. Someone was moving around in the kitchen. She smelled coffee and something cooking. Her stomach made hungry noises. She got up and looked out the window. The sun was just coming up. She could see horses in the field and mountains far away. Everything looked clean and peaceful. Emily picked up her doll and walked quietly to the door. She was still afraid to make noise. At Martha's house, if she made noise in the morning, Martha would hit her and tell her to be quiet. She opened the door slowly and looked out. Jake was in the kitchen. He was cooking eggs in a pan and making coffee. He was already dressed and ready for the day. "Good morning, Emily," Jake said when he saw her. His voice was gentle and kind. "Good morning," Emily said quietly. "Did you sleep well?" Emily nodded. She had slept better than she had in months. "Are you hungry?" Emily nodded again. She was always hungry. "Sit down at the table. Breakfast will be ready soon." Emily sat down and held her doll in her lap. She watched Jake cook. He moved easily around the kitchen like he was used to taking care of himself. "Do you like eggs?" Jake asked. "I don't know," Emily said. "I haven't had eggs very much." Jake felt sad when he heard this. Every child should have enough food to eat. He put eggs and bread on a plate and gave it to Emily. He also gave her a glass of milk. Emily ate slowly at first, then faster when she realized Jake was not going to take the food away. "Eat as much as you want," Jake said. "There's more if you're still hungry." Emily could not believe there was more food. She was used to getting one small piece of bread for breakfast and nothing else. Jake sat down at the table with his own breakfast. He watched Emily eat and thought about what to say to her. He knew she was scared and confused. He needed to help her understand what was going to happen. "Emily," he said, "we need to talk about some things." Emily stopped eating and looked at him with worried eyes. When adults said they needed to talk, it usually meant she was in trouble. "You're not in trouble," Jake said quickly. "I just want to explain some things to you." Emily relaxed a little but still looked worried. "Yesterday I paid Martha money for you. Do you understand what that means?" Emily shook her head. "It means that legally you belong to me now, like Martha said. You have to do what I tell you to do." Emily's face became sad and scared again. "But," Jake continued, "I want you to know that I'm not like Martha. I bought you from her so I could help you, not so I could hurt you." "Help me? How?" Emily asked. Jake thought about how to explain this to a 12-year-old girl. "Have you ever heard of slavery?" he asked. Emily shook her head. "Slavery is when people own other people and make them work without pay. It's wrong, and it's not legal anymore. But what I did yesterday was kind of like slavery, and I don't like that." Emily did not understand all the words Jake was using, but she could see that he was upset about something. "I want you to know that even though I bought you, I don't think of you as something I own. I think of you as a person who needs help." "What kind of help?" Emily asked. Jake took a deep breath. He decided to tell Emily the truth about why he had helped her. "When I was young, I had a sister named Sarah," he said. "She was about your age." Emily listened carefully. "My father was a mean man. He drank too much, like Martha did. When he drank, he got angry and he hurt people." Emily's eyes got big. She understood about mean adults who hurt children. "He hurt my sister Sarah many times. I was younger than her and I was too small to stop him. I always wished someone would help her, but no one ever did." Jake's voice got sad. "Sarah got sick when she was 13 and she died. I think she died because she was so sad and hurt all the time." Emily felt sorry for Jake. She could see that talking about his sister made him very sad. "When I saw Martha hurting you yesterday, it made me think of Sarah. I decided that I could not walk away and let another little girl get hurt." "So you bought me to save me?" Emily asked. "Yes," Jake said, "but I know that buying you was wrong. People should not be bought and sold. I just could not think of any other way to get you away from Martha." Emily thought about this. "Martha didn't want me anyway," she said. "I know, but even if she didn't want you, she had no right to hurt you." They sat quietly for a while. Emily finished her eggs and drank her milk. It was the most food she had eaten in one meal for a very long time. "What happens now?" Emily asked. "Now you live here with me," Jake said. "I'll take care of you and make sure you have enough food and clothes. You'll help me with some work around the ranch, but nothing too hard." "Will you send me away if I do something wrong?" "No. This is your home now. I won't send you away." Emily wanted to believe him, but it was hard. Adults had disappointed her before. "What if you get tired of me?" she asked. Jake looked at her seriously. "Emily, I promise you that I will not get tired of you. You are safe here." Emily felt tears in her eyes. She had not felt safe in a very long time. "Why are you being nice to me?" she asked. "Because you deserve to be treated nicely. All children do." Martha said I was bad. Martha was wrong. "You're not bad. You're just a little girl who has had some very hard times." Emily wiped her eyes with her sleeve. "I don't know how to be good." "You're already good," Jake said. "You just need to learn that you don't have to be afraid all the time." After breakfast, Jake showed Emily around the ranch. There was a barn with 2 horses and some chickens. There was a vegetable garden and a well for water. Everything was neat and clean. "This is where I keep Thunder," Jake said, showing her the barn. "And this is Rosie. She's an old mare, very gentle." Emily was still afraid of the horses, but she could see that they were calm and peaceful. "Do you know how to read?" Jake asked as they walked around. Emily shook her head. "Martha said reading was for rich people." Martha was wrong about that, too. Everyone should know how to read. "I'll teach you." "Really?" Emily had always wanted to learn to read. "Really. And I'll teach you to write too. And numbers." Emily could not believe all the things Jake was promising her. Food, safety, and now education too. "What do I have to do for you?" she asked. "Just help around the house. Cooking, cleaning, things like that. But you'll also have time to rest and play and learn." "Play?" Emily still could not believe that playing was allowed. Children need to play. It helps them grow up healthy and happy. They spent the morning walking around the ranch. Jake showed Emily where everything was and explained how things worked. She was quiet most of the time, but Jake could see that she was listening carefully. At lunchtime, they ate bread and cheese and apples. Emily ate slowly, still not believing that there was plenty of food. "Emily," Jake said, "I want you to know that you can ask me questions about anything, and if you're scared or worried about something, you can tell me." "Okay," Emily said quietly. "And if I ever do something that scares you, I want you to tell me that too." Emily nodded, but Jake could see that she did not really believe she could tell him if she was scared. It would take time for her to trust him that much. That afternoon, Jake began teaching Emily to read. He had a few books and an old newspaper. He started with simple words like cat and dog. Emily was very smart. She learned quickly and seemed hungry for knowledge. Jake could see that she had never had a chance to use her mind before. "You're a good student," Jake told her. Emily smiled. It was the first real smile Jake had seen from her. As the sun was setting, they sat on the porch of the house. Emily held her doll and looked out at the mountains. "Jake?" she said. "Yes?" "Thank you for buying me from Martha." Jake felt his heart hurt. No child should have to thank someone for buying them. "You don't have to thank me," he said. "I'm just glad you're safe now. Do you think I'll ever see Martha again?" "I don't know." "Do you want to see her again?" Emily thought about this. "No," she said finally. "I hope I never see her again." "Then you probably won't. She has her money and she said she didn't want to see you anymore." Emily felt relief. For the first time since her father died, she felt like maybe her life could be different. Maybe she could be happy. But deep inside, she was still afraid. She was afraid that Jake would change his mind about her. She was afraid that something bad would happen and she would have to go back to Martha. She was afraid to hope for too much. Jake could see that Emily was still scared. He knew it would take time for her to really trust him. But he was patient. He had promised to take care of her, and he meant it. As they sat on the porch in the growing darkness, Jake made another promise to himself. He would do everything he could to help Emily forget the bad times and learn to be happy again. He owed that much to his sister Sarah, and he owed it to Emily too. 3 days had passed since Jake brought Emily to the ranch. Emily was beginning to feel less afraid, but she still jumped when Jake moved too quickly or spoke too loudly. She was learning that he really meant what he said about not hurting her. Onik. The 4th morning, Emily woke up to the sound of voices outside. She looked out her window and saw Jake talking to someone near the barn. It was a woman, but not Martha. This woman was older and had gray hair. She was wearing a clean dress and an apron. Emily felt scared. Who was this woman? Was Jake going to give her away to someone else? She got dressed quickly and went to the kitchen. Through the window, she could see Jake and the woman walking toward the house. Emily's heart beat fast. She wanted to hide, but there was nowhere to go. The front door opened and Jake came in with the woman. She was small and round with kind eyes and brown skin. She looked like she might be from Mexico. "Emily," Jake said, "I want you to meet someone. This is Maria Santos. She helps me take care of the house sometimes." Maria looked at Emily with gentle eyes. "Hello, little one," she said. Her voice had an accent, but her English was good. Emily stayed near the wall and did not say anything. "Maria," Jake said, "this is Emily. She's going to be living here with me now." Maria's eyes got wide with surprise. "Living here? A little girl?" "It's a long story," Jake said. "I'll explain it to you later." Maria looked at Emily again. She could see that the child was very thin and scared. Maria had raised 5 children of her own. She knew what a frightened child looked like. "Are you hungry, little one?" Maria asked Emily. Emily nodded but did not move from the wall. "I'll make you something good to eat," Maria said. She went to the kitchen and began looking through Jake's cupboards. Jake sat down at the table. "Emily, come sit with me. Maria is a good person. She won't hurt you." Emily walked slowly to the table and sat down. She kept looking at Maria with worried eyes. "Jake," Maria said as she started cooking, "where did this child come from?" Jake told Maria the story of how he found Emily and bought her from Martha. Maria's face got angry as she heard about how Martha had treated Emily. "That woman should be in jail," Maria said. "No one should hurt a child like that." "I know," Jake said, "but now Emily is safe. That's what matters." Maria made eggs and bacon and warm biscuits. She put a big plate in front of Emily. "Eat, little one. You need to get some meat on your bones." Emily ate carefully. She was still not used to having so much food. "You are very thin," Maria said to Emily. "How long since you had a good meal?" Emily did not know how to answer. She had not had a really good meal since her father died. "Too long," Jake said. "Martha didn't take care of her." Maria shook her head sadly. "Some people should not be allowed to care for children." After breakfast, Maria looked around the house. "Jake Morrison," she said, "this house needs a woman's touch. You need curtains and better furniture, and this child needs proper clothes." Jake looked embarrassed. He had never thought much about how his house looked. "I don't know much about those things." "I know about those things," Maria said. "I'll help you." Emily listened to Maria and Jake talk. She was still afraid, but Maria seemed kind. She reminded Emily a little bit of her own mother, who had died when Emily was very young. "Emily," Maria said, "come with me. Let's look at your clothes." Emily followed Maria to her room. Maria looked at the small pile of torn and dirty dresses. "These will not do," Maria said. "A young lady needs better clothes than this." "I don't have any money for new clothes," Emily said quietly. "Don't you worry about money," Maria said. "Jake has money and I know how to sew. We'll make you some pretty dresses." Emily had never had a pretty dress. Martha had always given her old clothes that were too big or too small. "Do you know how to sew?" Maria asked. Emily shook her head. "Then I'll teach you. Every woman should know how to sew." Maria spent the morning with Emily, talking to her and asking gentle questions. She learned that Emily could not read or write very well. She learned that Emily had never had toys except for her old doll. She learned that Emily was smart, but had never had a chance to learn things. "This child needs more than just food and clothes," Maria told Jake later. "She needs love and attention. She needs to learn that the world is not all bad." "I'm trying," Jake said, "but I don't know much about taking care of children." "I know about children," Maria said. "I'll help you." Jake felt relieved. He had been worried about how to take care of Emily properly. Maria knew things he did not know. "But first," Maria said, "we need to talk about something important." What? The way you got this child. You bought her like she was a horse or a cow. That is not right. Jake felt ashamed. I know it wasn't right, but I couldn't think of any other way to help her. I understand why you did it, Maria said. But now we need to make it right. How? First, you need to tear up that paper you made Martha sign. Emily is not your property. She is a child who needs care. Jake nodded. You're right. And second, if anyone asks, Emily is not your slave or your servant. She is a child you are taking care of. What should I tell people? Tell them she is your ward. That means you are taking care of her because she has no family. Jake had not thought about what to tell other people. Do you think people will accept that? Some will, some won't. But it doesn't matter what other people think. What matters is that you do right by this child. That afternoon, Maria took Emily to town to buy fabric for new dresses. Emily had never been shopping before. She was amazed by all the different colors and patterns of cloth. Which one do you like? Maria asked, showing Emily different fabrics. Emily was afraid to choose. I don't know. Whatever you think is best. No, Maria said firmly. You choose. It's your dress. Emily looked at all the fabrics. Finally, she pointed to a blue one with small white flowers. That's a good choice, Maria said. Blue is a pretty color for you. They bought fabric for 3 dresses and some ribbons for Emily's hair. Emily could not believe she was getting so many new things. On the way home, Maria told Emily about her own family. She had 5 children who were all grown up now. Her husband had died 3 years ago and now she lived alone. She helped Jake sometimes because she liked to feel useful. Do you have grandchildren? Emily asked. Yes, I have 7 grandchildren, but they live far away. I don't see them very often. Emily thought about this. Are you lonely? Maria was surprised by the question. Sometimes, she said honestly. Me too, Emily said quietly. Maria looked at the thin little girl walking beside her. Maybe we can help each other not be so lonely. Emily smiled a little. She was beginning to like Maria. When they got back to the ranch, Jake had made a surprise for Emily. He had cleaned out a small room and put in a desk and chair. On the desk were paper and pencils and 2 books. This is your schoolroom, Jake said. This is where we'll have your lessons. Emily stared at the room. She had never had a space that was just for her. Do you like it? Jake asked. Emily nodded. She was too surprised to speak. We'll start with reading lessons tomorrow, Jake said. And Maria is going to teach you other things too. That evening, as Maria cooked dinner, she taught Emily how to make bread. Emily had never been allowed to cook at Martha's house. Martha said she was too clumsy and would ruin everything. Cooking is not hard, Maria said. You just have to be careful and follow the steps. Emily listened carefully and did everything Maria told her to do. The bread turned out good. See, Maria said. You are a good cook. You just needed someone to teach you. At dinner, they ate the bread Emily had helped make. Jake said it was the best bread he had ever tasted. Emily felt proud. After dinner, Jake tore up the paper that said he owned Emily. He threw the pieces into the fire. You are not my property, he told Emily. You are a person and you have rights. You have the right to be safe and fed and treated with kindness. Emily did not understand all the words Jake used, but she understood that he was saying she was important. What if someone comes and says I have to go back to Martha? Emily asked. That won't happen, Jake said. I'll make sure of it. How? I'll adopt you legally. That means I'll become your guardian, and you'll be my ward. No one can take you away from me then. Emily felt a warm feeling in her chest. Someone wanted to keep her. Someone thought she was worth protecting. That night, as Emily got ready for bed, Maria came to her room. She had brought warm milk and cookies. Are you happy here, little one? Maria asked. Emily thought about the question. I think so. I'm not scared all the time anymore. Good. Fear is no way for a child to live. Maria? Will you really teach me to sew? Of course. And I'll teach you to cook and clean and take care of a house. But I'll also teach you to laugh and sing. Children should know how to be happy. Emily had almost forgotten how to be happy. I don't remember how to laugh very much. You'll remember, Maria said. It just takes time. As Maria tucked Emily into bed, Emily asked, Will you stay here? At the ranch? Jake has asked me to come live here and help take care of you. Would you like that? Emily nodded eagerly. She was beginning to feel like maybe she could have a family again. Not the same kind of family she had with her father, but a different kind. A chosen family. Then I'll stay, Maria said. Jake needs help taking care of a little girl, and I need someone to take care of. We'll all help each other. Emily fell asleep that night feeling safer than she had in 2 years. 6 weeks had passed since Emily came to live at Jake's ranch. She was growing stronger and healthier every day. Her face had more color, and she was not so thin anymore. Maria's cooking and Jake's kindness were helping her heal. Emily could now read simple sentences and write her name in neat letters. She had learned to bake bread and tend the vegetable garden. Most importantly, she had begun to smile and sometimes even laugh. She was learning to be a child again. On this particular morning, Emily was feeding the chickens when she heard horses coming down the road. She looked up and saw 3 riders approaching the ranch. One of them was a man wearing a badge. That meant he was the sheriff. Emily's heart began to beat fast. She dropped the chicken feed and ran toward the house. She had learned that when adults in uniform came to see you, it usually meant trouble. Jake, she called as she ran. Someone's coming. Jake came out of the barn where he had been working. He saw the riders and recognized Sheriff Williams from town. With him was another man Emily did not recognize, and behind them rode someone who made Emily's blood turn cold. It was Martha. Emily ran to Jake and grabbed his arm. It's her, she whispered. It's Martha. Jake put his hand on Emily's shoulder. Stay calm, he said quietly. I won't let anything happen to you. But Jake was worried too. Why was Martha here? And why had she brought the sheriff? The 3 riders stopped in front of the house. Sheriff Williams got down from his horse. He was a large man with a serious face. The other man stayed on his horse. He was wearing fancy clothes and had a mean look in his eyes. Martha got down from her horse and smiled, but it was not a nice smile. She looked at Emily like a cat looking at a mouse. Sheriff Williams, Jake said. What brings you out here? Mr. Morrison, the sheriff said. I'm afraid we have a problem. This woman says you kidnapped her stepdaughter. Emily moved closer to Jake. She was shaking with fear. I didn't kidnap anyone, Jake said calmly. I have papers that show I legally purchased Emily from Mrs. Crowley. That's just it, Sheriff Williams said. Mrs. Crowley says those papers were signed under force. She says you threatened her and made her sign them. Martha stepped forward. That's right, she said loudly. This man came to my house and threatened to hurt me if I didn't give him Emily. I was scared for my life. Emily stared at Martha in shock. This was not what had happened at all. That's not true, Emily said in a small voice. Quiet, girl, Martha snapped. You don't know what you're talking about. Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. Mrs. Crowley, you signed those papers freely. You took $50 in payment. Money you forced me to take, Martha said. I never wanted to sell Emily. She's my stepdaughter. I love her like my own daughter. Emily could not believe what she was hearing. Martha had never loved her. Martha had hit her and called her worthless. The man in fancy clothes spoke for the first time. Sheriff, this is all very touching, but I have business to conduct. Mrs. Crowley has agreed to sell the girl to me. I've offered her a fair price. Who are you? Jake asked. My name is Walter Briggs. I own several businesses in the next town over. Jake did not like the way Briggs looked at Emily. There was something wrong about this man. What kind of businesses? Jake asked. Entertainment businesses, Briggs said with an ugly smile. Jake understood what that meant. Briggs owned saloons and probably worse places. He wanted to buy Emily to work in one of those places. The thought made Jake sick. Emily is not for sale, Jake said firmly. Actually, Sheriff Williams said, according to the law, Mrs. Crowley still has rights as Emily's guardian. If she says the papers were signed under force, then they might not be legal. Emily felt the world spinning around her. Were they going to make her go back to Martha? Or worse, were they going to give her to this horrible man Briggs? I want to speak with Emily alone, Sheriff Williams said. No, Jake said quickly. Anything. You want to ask her, you can ask in front of me. Jake, Sheriff Williams said. I know you mean well, but I need to hear Emily's side of the story without anyone influencing her. Emily looked up at Jake with terrified eyes. She did not want to be alone with these people. Maria came out of the house. She had been watching from the window. What is happening here? She asked. These people want to take Emily away, Jake said. Maria looked at Martha and Briggs with angry eyes. Over my dead body, she said. Ma'am, Sheriff Williams said. This is a legal matter. Please don't make this more difficult than it has to be. Emily, the sheriff said gently. I need you to tell me the truth. Did this man force Mrs. Crowley to give you to him? Emily looked at Martha, then at Briggs, then at Jake. She was so scared she could barely speak. No, she whispered. Speak. Up, child, Sheriff Williams said. No, Emily said louder. Jake didn't force her. Martha wanted to sell me. She said I was too much trouble. The child is confused, Martha said quickly. She's been living with strangers. She doesn't remember what really happened. I do remember, Emily said, her voice getting stronger. You hit me with a stick. You called me worthless. You said you were glad to get rid of me. Emily, dear, Martha said in a fake sweet voice. You're just upset. I never hurt you. I was trying to discipline you for your own good. Emily stared at Martha in amazement. How could she lie so easily? Show them your arms, Maria said suddenly. What? Sheriff Williams asked. Emily, show them your arms, Maria repeated. Emily rolled up her sleeves. There were still faint marks on her arms from where Martha had hit her with the stick. Those are old bruises, Martha said quickly. She probably got them playing around the ranch. I've been taking care of Emily for 6 weeks, Maria said angrily. I know what those marks are from. That woman beat this child. Sheriff Williams looked uncomfortable. He could see the marks on Emily's arms, but he also had to follow the law. Mrs. Crowley, he said, if you want Emily back, you'll have to prove that Mr. Morrison took her illegally. I can prove it, Martha said. Emily, tell them how this man threatened me. Emily looked at Martha with brave eyes. Jake never threatened you. You were happy to take his money. You said you never wanted to see me again. Martha's face got red with anger. You ungrateful little brat. After everything I did for you. You never did anything for me except hurt me, Emily said. That's enough, Briggs interrupted. Sheriff, I don't care about this family drama. Mrs. Crowley has agreed to sell the girl to me for $100. That's twice what this cowboy paid. Emily is not for sale, Jake said again. According to the law, she is, Briggs said. Mrs. Crowley is her legal guardian. Sheriff Williams looked troubled. He could see that Emily was afraid of Martha and terrified of Briggs, but the law was the law. Mr. Morrison, he said, I'm afraid I have to ask you to turn Emily over to Mrs. Crowley. No, Emily cried. She ran to Jake and held onto his arm. Please don't make me go with them. Jake put his arms around Emily. I won't let them take you, he promised. Sir, Sheriff Williams said, don't make this harder than it has to be. If you resist, I'll have to arrest you. Then arrest me, Jake said. Jake, no, Emily cried. Maria stepped forward. Sheriff Williams, surely you can see that. This child is terrified of these people. How can you send her with them? Ma'am, I have to follow the law. The law is wrong, Maria said angrily. Maybe, Sheriff Williams said sadly. But it's still the law. Briggs got impatient. Sheriff, I have other business to attend to. Let's get this over with. Emily, Martha said, Come here right now. Emily shook her head and held onto Jake tighter. I said come here. Martha's voice was getting mean again the way it used to be. I won't go with you, Emily said bravely. And I won't go with him either. Briggs laughed. It doesn't matter what you want, little girl. You don't have a choice. Jake felt his anger boiling over. If you think I'm going to let you take this child to work in your saloon, you're crazy. What I do with my property is my business, Briggs said. She's not property, Jake shouted. Sheriff Williams put his hand on his gun. Everyone calm down, Mr. Morrison, step away from the girl. Jake did not move. I won't let you take her. Then I'll have to arrest you for kidnapping and interfering with the law. Emily began to cry. Please, don't take Jake away. He's the only one who's ever been nice to me. Don't worry about him, Martha said coldly. He's not your family. I am. You're not my family, Emily said through her tears. You never loved me. You only want me back because that man is paying you money. Martha's face showed her true feelings for just a moment. Emily was right. Martha did not want her back because she loved her. She wanted her back because Briggs was paying more money than Jake had. Sheriff Williams saw the look on Martha's face too. He was beginning to understand that maybe Emily was telling the truth. But before he could say anything, Briggs pulled out a gun. Enough talk, he said. Sheriff, if you won't do your job, I'll handle this myself. Everyone froze. Briggs was pointing his gun at Jake. Let go of the girl, Briggs said, or I'll shoot you where you stand. Emily screamed. Maria moved to protect her. Jake put himself between Emily and the gun. You're making a big mistake, Jake said quietly. Sheriff Williams drew his own gun. Mr. Briggs, put that weapon down. This is not how we handle legal matters. The hell with legal matters, Briggs said. I paid good money for that girl and I'm taking her with me. No, you're not, said a new voice. Rebecca Hayes got down from her horse with calm confidence. She was a young woman, maybe 25 years old, with intelligent eyes and a determined expression. She had come from back east to teach school in Cedar Falls. Mr. Briggs, she said, firmly, put that gun away. Threatening people with weapons is against the law. Mind your own business, lady, Briggs snarled. This doesn't concern you. Actually, it does concern me, Rebecca said. As the school teacher, I care about the welfare of all children in this area, and I have information that will interest Sheriff Williams. Sheriff Williams looked relieved to see Rebecca. He respected her because she was educated and had good judgment. What kind of information? He asked. Rebecca reached into her saddlebag and pulled out a folder of papers. I've been investigating this situation since I heard about it in town. I spoke with several people who knew about Emily's living conditions with Mrs. Crowley. Martha's face went pale. You had no right to ask questions about my private business. I had every right, Rebecca said calmly. When a child's safety is involved, it becomes everyone's business. She handed the papers to Sheriff Williams. These are signed statements from 3 neighbors who witnessed Mrs. Crowley abusing Emily on multiple occasions. Sheriff Williams read the papers with a serious expression. Emily watched him hopefully. Mrs. Patterson, who lives next door, saw Mrs. Crowley beating Emily with a stick in the yard. Rebecca continued. Mr. Johnson, who delivers supplies, said he often heard Emily crying and saw her with bruises. And Dr. Mitchell treated Emily for injuries twice last year. Those people are liars, Martha said angrily. Are you calling the doctor a liar too? Rebecca asked. Martha did not know what to say. She had not expected anyone to investigate her treatment of Emily. There's more, Rebecca said. I also discovered that Mrs. Crowley has been drinking heavily and gambling away money that should have been used to care for Emily. The general store owner says she owes money for food and supplies. Sheriff Williams looked at Martha with disgust. Is this true, Mrs. Crowley? I may have had a drink now and then, Martha said weakly, but that doesn't mean I don't care about Emily. It means you're not fit to care for a child, Rebecca said firmly. Briggs was getting impatient. He still had his gun pointed at Jake. I don't care about any of this. I paid money for the girl and I'm taking her. Rebecca turned to look at Briggs with cold eyes. Mr. Briggs, I also investigated you. I know what kind of businesses you really run. What are you talking about? Sheriff Williams asked. Mr. Briggs owns 3 saloons and 2 brothels in the next town, Rebecca said. He has a reputation for buying young girls and forcing them to work in those places. Sheriff Williams stared at Briggs with shock and anger. Is this true? Businesses are legal, Briggs said, but he looked nervous now. Forcing children into prostitution is not legal, Rebecca said. I have witnesses who say you've done this before. Emily did not understand all the words Rebecca was using, but she could tell that Briggs was a very bad man. She held on to Jake even tighter. Sheriff, Jake said, surely you're not going to let this man take Emily to a place like that. Sheriff Williams was struggling with what to do. The law said Martha had rights as Emily's guardian, but everything he was learning suggested that Martha was not fit to care for Emily. Mr. Briggs, Sheriff Williams said, I think you should put that gun away and leave now. I'm not leaving without what I paid for, Briggs said stubbornly. You haven't paid anything yet, Rebecca pointed out, and you're not going to. Briggs realized that his plan was falling apart. He was outnumbered and people were starting to turn against him. This isn't over, he said. He put his gun away and got back on his horse. I know powerful people. I'll be back. He rode away quickly, leaving Martha standing alone with Sheriff Williams and the others. Martha looked around at all the hostile faces. Emily is still my stepdaughter, she said desperately. I still have legal rights. Mrs. Crowley, Sheriff Williams said, based on what I've heard today, I think those rights should be reviewed by a judge. A judge? Martha asked nervously. Yes, Rebecca said. I've already contacted Judge Harrison in the county seat. He's agreed to hear this case. Emily looked up at Jake with hope in her eyes. Does that mean I might get to stay with you? I hope so, Jake said. But we'll have to wait and see what the judge decides. Rebecca smiled at Emily. Don't worry, dear. Judge Harrison is a fair man who cares about children. He'll make the right decision. Sheriff Williams put away his gun. Mrs. Crowley, until this matter is resolved by the court, Emily will remain with Mr. Morrison. That's not fair, Martha protested. It's more fair than sending her with a man who wanted to use her. In a brothel, Maria said angrily. Martha realized she was not going to win this fight today. Fine, she said. But I'll see you all in court. Emily belongs with family, not with strangers. She got on her horse and rode away, muttering angry words under her breath. After Martha left, Sheriff Williams turned to Jake. Mr. Morrison, I apologize for this situation. I was just trying to follow the law, but I can see now that the law isn't always right. Thank you, Sheriff, Jake said. I know you were just doing your job. Rebecca walked over to Emily, who was still clinging to Jake's arm. Emily, my name is Rebecca. I'm a teacher. Would you like to tell me what really happened with Mrs. Crowley? Emily looked at Jake, who nodded encouragingly. It's okay, he said. Miss Hayes is trying to help you. Emily took a deep breath. Martha was mean to me. She hit me with sticks and called me bad names. She said I was worthless and that nobody would ever want me. Rebecca's heart ached as she listened to Emily's story. Did she give you enough food? Emily shook her head. Sometimes I was so hungry my stomach hurt. But if I asked for food, she would get angry and hit me more. What about school? Did she let you go to school? No. She said school was for rich children, not for someone like me. Rebecca looked at Jake and Maria with sad eyes. This poor child had been through so much. Emily, Rebecca said gently, would you be willing to tell these things to a judge? Emily looked scared. Will I get in trouble? No, sweetie. You're telling the truth, and that's never wrong. The judge needs to hear your story so he can make the right decision about where you should live. Over the next few days, Rebecca worked hard to prepare for the court hearing. She interviewed more neighbors who had witnessed Martha's treatment of Emily. She spoke with the doctor who had treated Emily's injuries. She gathered evidence to show that Jake would be a much better guardian for Emily than Martha. Jake was nervous about the court hearing. What if the judge decided that blood family was more important than Emily's safety? What if Emily had to go back to Martha? Don't worry, Maria told him. Emily is happy here. Anyone can see that. The judge will do the right thing. Rebecca also spent time teaching Emily what to expect in court. The judge is like a wise grandfather, she explained. He wants to make sure children are safe and happy. You just need to tell him the truth about what happened. Emily was scared about talking to a judge, but she was more scared about going back to Martha. She would be brave and tell the truth, no matter how frightening it was. The night before the court hearing, Emily could not sleep. She kept thinking about what might happen. What if the judge did not believe her? What if he sent her back to Martha anyway? Jake came to her room when he heard her crying. "What's wrong, Emily?" "I'm scared," she said. "What if the judge makes me go back to Martha?" Jake sat on the edge of her bed. "Emily, I want you to know something. No matter what happens tomorrow, I will always fight to protect you. If the judge makes a bad decision, we'll find another way to keep you safe." "Really?" "Really. You're part of our family now. Families don't give up on each other." Emily felt a little better. She had Jake and Maria on her side, and she had Miss Hayes too. Maybe that would be enough. The next morning, they all traveled to the county courthouse. It was a big stone building that looked very important and scary to Emily. Inside the courtroom, there were wooden benches and a high desk where the judge would sit. Martha was already there with a lawyer she had hired. She glared at Emily when she saw her. Judge Harrison was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. He looked like the wise grandfather Rebecca had described. "This court is now in session," the judge said. "We are here to determine what is in the best interest of Emily Hartwell, age 12. Martha's lawyer spoke first. He argued that Emily belonged with her stepmother because they were family. He said that Jake had illegally taken Emily from her, legal guardian. Then Rebecca stood up to speak for Jake and Emily. She presented all the evidence she had gathered about Martha's abuse and neglect. She called witnesses who testified about what they had seen and heard. Dr. Mitchell testified that he had treated Emily for injuries that were clearly caused by beatings. Mrs. Patterson testified that she had seen Martha hitting Emily with sticks and throwing things at her. Finally, it was Emily's turn to speak. She was very scared, but she remembered what Jake had told her about being brave. "Emily," Judge Harrison said gently, "I know this is frightening for you, but I need you to tell me about your life with Mrs. Crowley." Emily's voice was small at first, but it got stronger as she talked. She told the judge about the beatings and the hunger and the fear. 2 years had passed since the court hearing that changed Emily's life forever. She was now 14 years old, and the scared, thin girl who had once lived with Martha was gone. In her place was a confident young woman with bright eyes and a ready smile. Emily woke up on a sunny morning in spring. She could smell bacon cooking and hear Maria singing in the kitchen. She could hear Jake talking to the horses in the barn. These were the sounds of home, and they made her heart feel warm. She got dressed, in one of the pretty dresses Maria had made for her. Her hair was clean and shiny, tied back with a blue ribbon. She looked like any other happy young lady, not like someone who had once been bought and sold like property. "Good morning, Papa," Emily said as she came into the kitchen. She had started calling Jake Papa about a year ago. It felt natural and right. "Good morning, sweetheart," Jake said, looking up from his breakfast. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes, Papa. I dreamed about the school picnic today. Today was a special day. The whole town was having a picnic to celebrate the opening of the new schoolhouse. Emily had helped Rebecca plan games and activities for the children. "Are you excited about your speech?" Maria asked as she put eggs and bacon on Emily's plate. Emily was going to give a short speech at the picnic about the importance of education. She had worked hard on it with Rebecca's help. A little nervous, Emily admitted, but mostly excited. Jake smiled proudly. "You'll do wonderfully. You're a fine speaker." Emily had changed so much in 2 years. She could read better than some adults in town. She could write beautiful letters and do arithmetic quickly in her head. She had learned to play the piano that Jake had bought for her last Christmas. More importantly, she had learned to trust again. She no longer flinched when people moved quickly. She no longer expected to be hit when she made mistakes. She laughed often and spoke her mind freely. After breakfast, They all got ready for the picnic. Jake hitched up the wagon while Maria packed baskets of food. Emily put on her best dress and the locket Jake had given her for her 13th birthday. As they rode to town, Emily thought about how much her life had changed. She remembered the scared little girl who had been sold to a stranger for $50. That girl had expected nothing from life except pain and hunger. Now Emily had dreams and plans. She wanted to become a teacher like Rebecca. She wanted to help other children who were scared and alone. She wanted to make sure no child ever felt as worthless as she once had. The town square was full of people when they arrived. There were families with children, old couples, and young men and women. Everyone was dressed in their best clothes for the celebration. "Emily," called a voice. Emily turned to see her friend Sarah running toward her. Sarah was the daughter of the town's banker, and she and Emily had become close friends. "Sarah," Emily called back. The two girls hugged each other excitedly. "I can't wait to hear your speech," Sarah said. "Papa says you're the smartest girl in town." Emily blushed. "I just like to read and learn." "That's what makes you smart," Sarah said. Rebecca came over to greet them. She looked proud and happy. "Emily, are you ready for your big moment?" "I think so, Miss Hayes. You'll do beautifully. Just remember to speak clearly and from your heart." The picnic was wonderful. There were games for the children, music from the town band, and tables full of delicious food. Emily played games with the other children and helped serve food to the elderly people. She noticed that some people still looked at her strangely sometimes. They remembered that she was the girl who had been bought from Martha Crowley. But most people had accepted her as Jake's daughter now. When it was time for the speeches, Emily felt nervous butterflies in her stomach. The mayor introduced her as Miss Emily Morrison, one of our brightest young students. Emily walked to the front of the crowd. She could see Jake and Maria in the audience, both smiling proudly at her. She could see Rebecca nodding encouragingly. "Friends and neighbors," Emily began, her voice clear and strong. 2 years ago, I could not read a single word. I had never been to school. I thought education was only for rich children who were better than me. The crowd listened quietly. I was wrong. Education is for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, if your parents are alive or dead, if people think you're important or worthless. Everyone deserves to learn. Emily's voice got stronger as she continued. Learning to read opened up a whole new world for me. Books taught me about faraway places and different kinds of people. Writing taught me how to express my thoughts and feelings. Arithmetic taught me how to solve problems. She paused and looked out at the crowd. But most importantly, education taught me that I have value, that I can contribute something good to the world, that I can help other people who feel lost and alone. Some people in the crowd wiped tears from their eyes. Emily's story was moving, but more than that, her courage was inspiring. "This new schoolhouse represents hope," Emily continued. "Hope for every child who thinks they're not smart enough or good enough to learn. Hope for every child who has been told they don't matter." She looked directly at Jake and Maria. "I want to thank the people who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. My father, Jake Morrison, who saved me from a terrible situation and gave me a home filled with love. My grandmother, Maria Santos, who taught me that families are made of love, not just blood. And my teacher, Miss Rebecca Hayes, who showed me that education can change a life." The crowd applauded loudly. Emily felt proud and happy. In closing, she said, "I want to say that we must never give up on any child. Every child has potential. Every child deserves love and care and the chance to learn. Thank you." The applause was thunderous. People stood up and cheered for Emily. Jake had tears in his eyes as he clapped. Maria was wiping her eyes with her handkerchief. After her speech, many people came to congratulate Emily. The mayor shook her hand and said she was a credit to the town. Other young people said they were inspired by her words, but the person Emily was most happy to see was Mrs. Henderson from the general store. Mrs. Henderson had a shy little boy named Tommy who rarely spoke to anyone. "Miss Emily," Mrs. Henderson said, "Tommy has something he wants to say to you." Tommy stepped forward, his face red with embarrassment. Miss Emily, he said quietly. Your speech made me feel brave. I want to learn to read better. Emily knelt down to Tommy's level. I would love to help you learn, Tommy. Reading is one of the best adventures you can have. Tommy smiled, and Emily knew she had found her calling. She wanted to help children like Tommy, children who felt different or scared or not good enough. As the sun was setting, the Morrison family packed up their things and headed home. Emily sat between Jake and Maria in the wagon, feeling content and loved. I'm proud of you, mija, Maria said, using the Spanish word for my daughter. Papa, do you think Mama would be proud of me too? Emily asked. She was talking about her real mother, who had died when Emily was very young. I know she would be, Jake said. And I think my sister Sarah would be proud too. You've become the kind of person she never got the chance to be. Emily smiled. She had heard many stories about Sarah over the years. She felt like Sarah was watching over her somehow. What do you want to do when you grow up, Emily? Maria asked. I want to be a teacher like Miss Hayes. I want to start a school for children who don't have anyone to take care of them. Children like I used to be. Jake nodded approvingly. That's a fine dream, sweetheart, and I know you'll make it come true. As they reached the ranch, Emily looked at the house that had become her home. She remembered the first night she had come here, scared and hungry and expecting to be hurt. Now this place was filled with love and laughter and learning. Jake had built extra rooms as Emily grew older. Maria had planted flower gardens that bloomed in every season. Rebecca came for dinner often, and they had long conversations about books and ideas. Papa, Emily said as they unloaded the wagon, do you ever regret buying me from Martha? Jake stopped what he was doing and looked at Emily seriously. Emily, that $50 was the best money I ever spent. Not because I bought you, but because it allowed me to save you. And in saving you, I saved myself too. What do you mean? I was lonely and angry before you came here. I spent too much time thinking about the past and all the things I couldn't change. You taught me to look forward instead of backward. You gave me a reason to be better than I was. Emily hugged Jake tightly. I love you, Papa. I love you too, sweetheart. More than you'll ever know. That night, as Emily got ready for bed, she thought about how different her life might have been. If Jake had not come along that day, she might still be with Martha. Or worse, she might have ended up with someone like Briggs. Instead, she had a family who loved her, friends who cared about her, and dreams for the future. She had learned that families could be made in many different ways. Sometimes the people who loved you most were not the ones you were born to, but the ones who chose to love you. As she drifted off to sleep, Emily made a promise to herself. She would spend her life helping other children find the love and safety she had found. She would make sure that no child ever felt as alone and worthless as she once had. The scared little girl who had once been sold for $50 was gone forever. In her place was a young woman who knew her worth.